This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
We are officially fully into conference play in college football. We have got some dandies to kick things off here in week number 4, including a big clash in the Big Ten between Illinois and Indiana. Of course, Auburn, Oklahoma this week as well. Our job for today is to break down those key games across the nation, letting you know where we're seeing value in the betting markets by talking to Austin Swaim, going to pick his brain on what his player prop market has done so far this year, but also digging into his favorite bets across week 4 at FanDuel Sportsbook. Welcome on into Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research. Joined here, as mentioned, by Austin Swaim. You can find him on X, Blue Sky, and Threads at Swaim3. Check him out at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior editor for us. Austin, happy week 4. How you doing today?
I am doing phenomenal. It is football season. We've got plenty to do, plenty on the FanDuel Research homepage. You should check that out, FanDuel.com/research. Could not recommend it enough, but everything's going well, so I love to see it.
And you're out there in Texas, and there is a big game on tap this weekend, Texas Tech, Utah. Are the streets buzzing at this point in Lubbock?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the excitement for this team is palpable, and they've spent a lot of money to make it that way. So I know they're excited here. It is a huge matchup with Utah. I was going to get on you a bit. We're both in Big 12 country, and you left out that ranked matchup between Texas Tech and Utah. Big 12 strap might very well be on the line, so we got 3 great games to talk about today.
I am still getting used to the fact that I live in Big 12 country. In my defense, I did buy a KU helmet though, so we've got that to at least it can sit in the background and remind me of where I'm at. So my background's the same as it was before, basically. So you need to have something different to remind me, hey, you're not in Chicago anymore, Toto, and I got to remind myself of this. So I appreciate the reminder from you as well.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. I'm here for you.
Alrighty, we're going to break down those matchups for today, but also, again, talk to Austin about his player prop model. We talked to him about this before the season. Kind of want to check in as someone who builds a lot of models and see how things have gone with him so far on that, but also get set for week 4 and Austin's favorite bets at FanDuel Sportsbook. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to the Covering the Spread podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. My NFL Week 3 first look is already up, breaking down my models, spreads, and totals for every single week for the 3 game in the NFL. Some bets that I like early in the week at FanDuel Sportsbook as well. That is also on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Leave us a thumbs up there if you like what you hear. Subscribe there, but also subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and review over there as well. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is finally here. Only question is, are you ready to play? Must be 21 plus and present in select states, or Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/Chad, Connecticut. Visit MD Gambling Help Oregon, Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Austin, let's start things off with that player prop model. As mentioned, we had you on before the start of the year. Talk about the process for building out that model. And for me, building an anytime touchdown model in the NFL, I've noticed a lot of things have been interesting with that across the first couple of weeks. So I wanted to ask you, what have been the biggest learnings for you in building out the model and actually running it across the first 3 full weeks of the college football season?
Yeah, I've had a lot of learnings for sure. Some of them hit you in the face like a V8. I forgot that college football sacks were actually negative rushing yards, so have to be very careful with that for quarterbacks. That was a pretty quick fix. But like, I think the toughest adjustment for me so far has been weighting defensive yards per attempt efficiency, because the level of competition in college football is so wide. Now, when I'm elected commissioner of college football and we have like an ELO rating system where everyone plays people of their specific talent level, maybe this isn't an issue for my model specifically, and maybe I'm doing it for selfish reasons. But for now, when you've got teams that play cupcake schedules versus teams that have already faced, an SEC school, an ACC school, it's kind of tough to weight those yards per attempt metrics. And I know that's my biggest growth opportunity. I don't think I did it very well, frankly, this year, but that's my biggest growth opportunity for it next year. And then another one has just been the difference in like rushing expectation for quarterbacks in the red zone, and especially around the goal line, versus how they do around the rest of the field. So maybe their rush share isn't high, but they're more willing to scramble in the red zone. So how do I adjust for that in particular? But the results are fine. I knew it was kind of a low risk endeavor because it's pulling in all this stuff that I used to make my betting decisions before I had college projections in a model. So like, I know the stuff it's pulling from is good. I just have to figure out how I can tweak it so that I feel like my projections are super accurate and sort of in line with the market. My main picks are 9 and 10, so I'm down 0.9 units overall, but Lord knows I've done much worse than that on my own. So small sample, but I'm encouraged by the progress.
You were talking about the rush shares for quarterbacks and stuff like that. And I guess the one thing I've been like telling myself with my anytime touchdown model is like, we're all guessing. So like I can give Kyler Murray a 25% rushing touchdown market share. And like, maybe that's stupid, but like everyone else is guessing at the same time. We're looking at a lot of data. We are parsing through this stuff. And our hope with like building out models that our educated guesses are better than the educated guesses of the others who are betting in these markets and making them more efficient. And like, it's like, I think that's reassuring for me is like, okay, yes, there are other smart people I'm competing with to do this, but also I know the data. I've been working with this data for a long time, and like I can hopefully know what the pitfalls of it may be. So I've always found that reassuring personally, is that like everyone is guessing at a certain level.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit less like this for DFS, and I do use these projections for college football DFS where you have to factor in everything. But if I get a line that seems weird and I just feel like a player, maybe they had a super huge spike play or whatever, and it's really weighted their efficiency versus what it should be, I don't have to bet them in a specific market. Yeah. So that's the nice part from a betting perspective. For DFS, adjusting for that is a little different, but at least for that one purpose, that works too.
Yeah, the I don't have to bet this mentality is great across all bets, but especially when you're building a brand new model for sure.
Yeah.
Let's dig in now to this week 4 slate, Austin. Begin with that big matchup you were alluding to earlier on. We got Texas Tech taking on Utah. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, Utah 2.5-point favorite. Total in this game is at 57.5. Both these teams, Austin, have blown the doors off their opening opponents so far, though obviously fair to question strength of schedule there. Who do you see coming out on top as they square off on Saturday?
Yeah, so we give out weekly expert picks on FanDuel Research, myself and two people smarter than me, Skylar Carlin and Riley Thomas. But but for Futures Day with FanDuel, we gave out a different set of expert picks. I gave out Texas Tech to make the college football playoff at plus 390. This was the one loss that I baked in looking at their schedule, because you got to kind of, if you're going to bet a win total or a future, you got to kind of play win-loss with the schedule. This is a tough one. Adjusting to Big 12 competition, you go from Arkansas Pine Bluff at home to Salt Lake City, Rice-Eccles Stadium, two NFL first-round tackles in Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu, as well as a quarterback in Devin Dampier that I love the vision that they've built in Utah, where they're like, we're not going to be good throwing the ball, so we're going to get a short guy, Devin Dampier, that is electric on the ground. We're going to run the ball, we're going to control the clock, and we're going to play Utah Utes football. This is a really tough assignment for Texas Tech with a lot of new pieces that haven't really been in any competition. I think if you ask Joey McGuire truthfully, he hoped Oregon State was a little bit more competitive last week. That thing was 45-0 at one point. They just haven't been in a very tight, efficient situation, whereas Utah has a little bit more continuity than 21 guys out of the transfer portal. So I like Utah minus 3.5 here. It's actually bumped down, so somebody's coming in on Texas Tech. It's 2.5, so now you don't even have to lay the particular hook with it. But I think that the Utes, because of their continuity, because of their ability to control the line of scrimmage, this is a good spot for them to get off to an excellent start in Big 12 play.
Yeah, it is an expensive 2.5 at -122 right now, FanDuel Sportsbook. But as you said, they did move across 3 there. So money coming in on Texas Tech somewhere. Austin does like Utah, though. -2.5, -122. Let's dig into that player prop model. Any props you like for this game, Austin?
Yeah, we've got some props earlier in the week here. I'm actually looking to the Texas Tech side in the prop market, though. If I think Utah is going to be ahead, I'm looking at Texas Tech quarterback Baron Morton over 251.5 passing yards. Looks like I'm not alone because I prepped
Going
this
up
like an
9
hour
yards.
ago.
You'll see movement. 9 yards of movement in a couple hours is drastic.
Yeah, I literally just did this a couple hours ago too, so it's going fast. But I totally agree with it, and I would get on it as soon as you can because Texas Tech is going to throw a lot more than they have in these first 3 games against Cupcakes. They have a 49.7% pass rate. That's actually way above expectation considering they've been ahead by 40 in most of them. One area where Utah hasn't historically been as strong as the secondary. I won't even bring up the Jackson Smith, the Jigba Rose Bowl game. But you look last year, Shedeur Sanders had 340 yards against them. Rocco Beck, 256. Good quarterbacks have moved the football in this secondary. And Texas Tech's going to have a high pass rate. I put Morton closer to that category. He's certainly been awesome this year. 11.2 yards per attempt. I've adjusted the yards per attempt here down to 10.1 because I am adjusting for level of competition. But even expecting a dip in efficiency for him, I expect volume to carry Morton, and it's going to be tough to run the ball on Utah. 37.4 passing attempts, 301.1 median yards from my model. So I think 300 is closer to the expectation. So it's not really a huge surprise to me that this line has moved so much.
And you can bet all markets at FanDuel Sportsbook. 300 plus yards is plus 194, also plus 116 for 275 plus. So could go there instead. But at 260.5 for you, that's still okay value in your eyes?
Yeah, absolutely. I would take this up into the 290 range, and then I'd have to think about it and kind of exactly look at maybe I dive a little bit deeper into Sanders and some of the per attempt efficiency metrics last year. But I think Morton is going to encroach 300 yards with nearly 40 attempts because of the style that Utah's going to play and the fact that I like the Utes to cover. That's a bonus too that I think they'll be ahead.
Okay, Austin is on Baron Morton over 260.5 passing yards, -114, but also the Utes, -2.5. That is -122. Let's talk about a pretty fun game, I think, between Auburn and Oklahoma. Right now at FanDuel Sportsbook, Oklahoma favored by 6.5, and the total in this game sits at 48.5. Austin, in the offseason, over the summer, you wrote about John Mateer and the impact he'd have on this Oklahoma team. And they're off to a pretty good start. Obviously, some picks in the mix for Mateer as well. But can they keep that rolling now as they open conference play against Auburn?
Yeah, I was just surprised that Oklahoma didn't get a little bit more love in preseason markets because this was a top 20 defense last year, and they went through an abysmal bout of quarterback play, and they looked at Washington State's offense last year and said, we're going to take your coordinator, we're going to take your quarterback, plug it in here, and no surprise, John Mateer has been roughly as effective as he was against Power 4 competition last year. Like you said, John Mateer's a little bit of a roller coaster, though. It's not like a Jaden Daniels situation from 2 years ago where you get all the good and none of the bad. There are turnovers, there are sacks, but he has made their offense viable. Now, with that said, I'm going under here, under 48.5 points in this game. Both of these defenses have been really, really good. I think the fact that the total is this low in a game with a Heisman favorite is one indication, but Auburn is 22nd in opponent yards per play. Oklahoma is 4th, and they faced Bryce Underwood in Michigan. Underwood looks like a cyborg against everyone else. He had no idea what he was doing against Oklahoma. And then Auburn's also already faced Sawyer Robertson and Baylor, which is another fun offense we'll talk about a little bit later. But they're also run-heavy teams, 52.2% rush rate. I don't exactly see either coordinator throwing their quarterback into the fire to throw it 40, 45 times in an SEC game against a good defense. I think Oklahoma does end up cashing their money line here, which is pretty substantial, -240. But I don't love the key number of 6. I was hoping to get closer to like 4.5 with OU. So I'm staying away from a side. I'm going to bet the under. I think it's a close, low-scoring affair, like 23-20.
As you mentioned, that under on Auburn OU, 48.5, -120 as things stand right now. And that obviously plays a big role in the prop market too. You mentioned a couple run-heavy teams. You're not expecting a ton of points here. So look at the prop markets. Where do you see value with those theses? Theses? What's the plural of thesis? Thesi? Whatever. With those thoughts in mind.
I'm not sure, but I'm sort of going to contradict myself because, as you know, as someone who bets NFL props, sometimes even in a rush heavy game plan, I can still target a receiving prop because a guy's workload is just unbelievable. Think about Jackson Smith-Njigba in the NFL right now. Deion Burks at Oklahoma, I think he's got a really great role that's sort of hidden by Oklahoma's couple cupcake games. Against Michigan, he had 12 targets. That was a 40% share of Mateer's passes that week. He is really their one outside threat and designed looks. So I'm looking at over 63.5 receiving yards for him. That one didn't move 9 yards. That's what I had earlier today. But it's also hard to argue with his efficiency. 13.2 yards per reception. To me, he's a great downfield fit with Mateer's ability to extend plays, get a broken chunk completion. The two will work well and marry well together in some of these games where otherwise it could be a little bit rough with Mateer in spots, but those broken plays, I think work well with Burks. I'm way above market here. I'm expecting 96.8 receiving yards from Burke, but that's just because Auburn's been such a pass funnel early. They're 7th in rushing yards per attempt allowed, 77th in passing yards per attempt allowed. And Baylor had a day against Auburn, even though they ended up losing the game. I think Mateer and Burks could connect quite a few times on Saturday.
Now, obviously, the key situation here, you mentioned the pass funnel for Auburn, where they've faced a lot of passing attempts. Do you expect that to kind of change the script for Oklahoma, who obviously hasn't had to do that so far because they've been up on a lot of teams? What kind of game plan are you expecting from Michigan in this context where you think they can win this game? 6.5 sounds about right to you. Do you think they continue to be ground heavy despite the tough opponent, or do we see them shift and allow Mateer to cook a bit more through the air?
That's a great question. I just have my So right now Oklahoma, I have their adjusted pass rate at 47.4%. It's 47.8% normally. So I'm actually expecting a slight decline in pass efficiency, and I still feel good about this Burks prop just because of his own specific volume.
All right. So Austin is on Deion Burks over 63.5 receiving yards at -114, but also taking the under in this game, 48.5 sitting at -120. Let's finish up here with Illinois taking on Indiana, a delightfully fun game on Saturday night in the Big Ten. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, Indiana favored by 5.5. It's out from 4.5 earlier on this week, and the total in this game sits at 52.5. Illinois beat the brakes off of Duke a couple weeks ago, and now opens Big Ten play on the road against Indiana. Can they stay hot and cover a 5.5-point spread, or decide with the Hoosiers here?
Yeah, we have a Hoosier on the staff, Austin Cass, who's trying to get into college football. I really feel bad bashing on the Hoosiers because I don't want to. I want him to feel involved and be proud of his team. But to me, Indiana's kind of proven nothing at this level. We saw last year they had a super easy strength of schedule. The games against Ohio State and Notre Dame were even more lopsided than the score indicated. And frankly, there are frightening red flags in their profile already this year when you consider the intentional strength of schedule so far. Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. When you factor all that in, they're still 88th in yards per play allowed on defense. I'm very concerned for them on this side of the ball. And this is an Illini team that, as you mentioned, they put up 45 offensive points against a very solid Duke squad. They're also not even in the top 10 in explosive play rate. Played a bunch of cupcakes. So I'm really worried about Indiana. I like Illinois' money line here. I think I can trust a little bit more of their product, plus 168. They have a veteran quarterback, Luke Altmaier, hasn't turned the football over this year. You kind of know what you're going to get with Brett Bielema's squad. They're going to pound the rock. They're going to run it. They're going to play good defense. Illinois' 85th in pass rate. And I feel like that style is going to travel well when Indiana, I think they're getting a lot of love because of last year. They put the great team there, as well as Fernando Mendoza got a lot of love sort of in NFL circles. I definitely think that he is an NFL guy. Omar Cooper is a very talented wide receiver for Indiana, but I'm mostly concerned about the defense here. I nearly considered Illinois' team total, which is actually friendly in the area of 23.5, but when I'm looking at it, I was prepping this game. I'm like, I just think Illinois is going to win, and plus 168 is a great number. Haven't learned a lot about Indiana because of their schedule so far.
So Indiana has not been tested yet. Illinois has, in theory, by facing that Duke team. How much is that influencing your thoughts here? Is it more so you just think that Illinois is better straight up and like that's why you want to take the money line? Or is it because they haven't really been put to the test yet? Indiana hasn't, and thus maybe haven't faced this level of competition to kind of warm themselves up for the year.
Yeah, it's a good question because it's something I had to consider with Texas Tech too, right? But
Sure.
when you look at Texas Tech is 8th in opponent yards per play, I feel good about their defense because they've had the schedule, but they've also absolutely slammed them. when you're a below average defense on a non-schedule adjusted basis against that schedule, and now you're stepping in to face an Illinois team that has a veteran quarterback, was very good. That's my reason for concern, maybe more so than the schedule itself, because you're going to get that all the time in college football. If they were 10th in opponent yards per play, I'd feel better.
Sure.
Ooh, boy, am I concerned that they're not going to be able to stop the Illini.
80th is not great. That
No.
is for sure. So Austin is taking the Illinois money line at plus 168 in this Big Ten showdown on Saturday night. Okay, Austin, opening up the board for you right now. What other bets do you like across week 4 at FanDuel Sportsbook?
Yeah, I'm going to a spot that I think I can wait on. Like, I would not bet this line yet. I think it's actually going to move against me, and so I'm holding pat for the moment. I'm looking at Tulane plus 11.5 visiting Ole Miss, which in the theory of thinking about those two schools and betting Tulane, it probably doesn't sound like a smart idea. But this is a combination of really liking what the Green Wave have done thus far this year, and something is amiss with Ole Miss, pun fully intended. Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons, he missed last week. Sounds like he's going to return. Doesn't have a lot of experience. He struggled against Kentucky and completed only 54.2% of his passes. Tulane's 43rd in passing yards per attempt allowed. Even better when you consider they've already gone through 2 Power 4 teams and then another team in South Alabama that has made consecutive bowl games. Tulane's actually had a pretty tough schedule. I mean, they had Northwestern on there, so I can pander to you and say
Sure.
that. But obviously, the uniform thing went viral. But I really like where Tulane's at. They have a veteran quarterback in Jake Retzlaff, not Parker. I did not make that mistake this time with the quarterback in the Xfinity Series driver. But Retzlaff's been awesome for them. 84.8 quarterback rating, 11th in the country. Ole Miss was just gashed for 115 yards by Arkansas quarterback Taylon Green. Retzlaff moves too, so I'm worried about that. Ole Miss just doesn't smell right, and now they're laying double digits. I'm hoping, praying for a 13, as you can see some of the splits over at FanDuel Sportsbook are pretty heavy on Ole Miss is what it looks like from their data. If I don't get it, I still would take the Green Wave getting any sort of double digits here.
Okay, so holding off for right now, but eventually do want to bet Tulane plus 11.5. That is minus 110 right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. And you said if it stays 11.5, you're okay with that too.
Yep, I would take this up to 10. So that's why I feel comfortable waiting. Is I think I can get this to move with me.
Okay, perfect. Any other bets you like outside of the Tulane side there?
Yeah, I promise. I teased Sawyer Robertson, so I got to talk about Baylor, which is actually the enemy school of where I sit in Lubbock. So not making a lot of local fans here, but Arizona State and Baylor are going to play Saturday night. I'm looking at over 59.5 points because Baylor games are always a circus. 3 Baylor games have featured 5 Power 4 teams. Those teams individually are averaging 39.4 points per game. I mean, it is just always a classic Big 12 shootout when you see these guys play in Waco. Arizona State, 6.4 passing yards per attempt allowed is okay, but a lot of that is some of the weak schedule. Blake Shapen of Mississippi State absolutely carved them up. Sawyer Robertson is a guy that when you and I are sitting here talking about the NFL draft next spring, I think Robertson is a guy that could go in the top 3 rounds. I really think he is a special passer and kind of a dying breed as more of a true passer, but he can move a little bit as well, I guess. But ASU's gotten off to a weird rocky start. Sam Levitt, 58.1% completion rate. They've really tried to run the ball a little bit more, but at the same time, they're feeding Jordan Tyson an absurd amount of targets. That's a little teaser if you're coming looking for my prop column on Friday. I'm going to have a Jordan Tyson prop in there because my projection on him is stupid with his role that he's got right now. But this game is so much fun. I love over 59.5 points. And this is just kind of the game that Baylor plays. When you think Arizona State can run it, they can throw it to Tyson. Baylor always going to score points, always going to push a super high pace and run a ton of plays. I'm going with an over here. Classic Baylor over.
Total there, 59.5 minus 115. I, as someone who enjoys watching football, desperately want Sam Levitt to be good because he's stupid fun to watch. Like, I don't know if he's good, but like he's fun. And I want more fun players who are good. And if he can be genuinely good, then I'll be a genuinely happy person because he is just like cocaine. And like it's weird and wild and fun.
Yeah, I had this game served. I thought about a 4-hour trip just because Levitt and Robertson were a couple guys on my NFL radar. And I think we're getting a little discount on this line. Arizona State's 3-0 to the under this year. That just doesn't feel like Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils. And when I close my eyes and think about them, I get a lot of Cam Scatterbo flashbacks, but they still got a lot of fun pieces from that offense that they can score with. So I think they'll get it turned around this week.
All right, so Austin is taking the over for Baylor ASU, 59.5 at -115. That is all that we have here for today on Covering the Spread. Back with you once again tomorrow. We're going to break down NFL week number 3, talk about some bets we like there, biggest games on the board, and then also player props on Friday, all right here on the Covering the Spread podcast feed, but also the FanDuel football betting YouTube page. Check out both those pages. Thumbs up on YouTube, 5-star rating on the podcast feed as well. Austin, appreciate the time. Good luck to you in week number 4. Looking forward to the player prop piece on Friday. We'll talk to you once again soon.
You bet, Jim. We'll check in soon.
You can find Austin's player prop piece at FanDuel.com/research and check out Austin on X, Blue Sky, and Threads at Swaim3. I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes and on Threads at Jim.Sannes. You can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work in the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you for week 4, college football. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast.